beautiful humans. I hope you all are doing well. I am currently trying this new setup. I got a brand new camera and I am attempting to hold my microphone on top of a pillow, hoping that it doesn't pick up any of those noises. I'm hoping I can keep it pretty still because I want to film my podcast on the couch. And you're probably asking, why? Because I have completely revamped everything. Oh my goodness. The clouds outside are super black and I have a feeling that it's going to storm soon. Anywho, weird intro. It's been a minute since I filmed a podcast and I'm still trying to figure out how to get back into my groove of talking to myself, quite literally. I encourage you to grab yourself your favorite beverage. I right now have, I don't know if you live in the Florida area, but I'm pretty sure they may have opened one in Georgia, but I use Foxtails Cold Brew, and then I have Trader Joe's Brown Sugar Oat Creamer. It works wonders. My friend hooked me up on that brown sugar creamer, and wow. So if you have not, I encourage you to grab your favorite beverage because I'm going to go into lots of talking today. The first thing that I'm going to be addressing is the switch up with the podcast. I want to go in a new direction and I want to kind of basically just explain it to you all so you can have a clear vision of where I'm heading with the podcast and all different types of things because I love bringing you guys along. I love making you guys aware of what's going on. So I have some notes that I'm going to be looking at my phone. Also, I'm pretty sure this is going to be on Spotify unless I don't figure it out, but I am uploading my videos straight to Spotify now. I think that is so cool. And if you want to join me and listen and watch, then I encourage you to check out the video version of this. Other than that, I'm going to get cracking away at what I want to talk about today. Okay, I'm sorry. I set up my camera and it's only getting darker and darker because I'm pretty sure it's going to storm. So it keeps the lighting keeps changing and I have it set to manual, so I have to change it myself. And I'm not going to restart the video just to change it and make it a little bit brighter. So we're going to have to deal with the lighting right now. Anywho, work with it. This is a new camera as well. It is a beast. It is the Sony Alpha 6400 and I have the 18-135 lens on right now. So I'm learning this monster of a camera. It is absolutely amazing and I'm just excited to take it. I'm going to Utah very beginning of August and I'm so excited to take it and get some film and get some just really cool clips and just try and figure it out. My husband and I are really into videography and photography, not anything professional, genuinely just a hobby, and then of course I use it for my business and stuff, but I'm so excited to just try and get some sick shots. So I'm trying to figure out all of my favorite settings before I go and trying to figure out how to do things manually so I can, work with the best shots and kind of make things custom. But all in all, the first impression of this camera is absolutely insane. It is the coolest camera I've ever had in my life. And I was recently using the Canon M50. I think there was something else in the name. I can't remember. But I decided to switch over to the Sony side because I've just seen a lot of really good reviews about this camera. It's kind of like the best package for pictures and videos. So I decided to I sold my last camera. Super thankful for all the years that it had worked wonders for my business, but its highest shooting was in 720. So, and this shoots in 4K, which is absolutely awesome. And I was using my phone for a while because believe it or not, my phone was actually shooting better than my camera. I decided to sell my camera, sell all of my gear. I sold my camera bag, my tripod. I mean, everything that I had worked for and had been gifted and pretty much just sold the entire package of everything I've pretty much accumulated, and I'm kind of starting fresh. I'm starting from scratch, and this camera was the first purchase. I did purchase, however, a tripod, and it's not come in yet, so I have you stacked on a tray and then a bunch of books, so that's fun. Anyway, I should probably get into what the topic for today is. So I wanted to start out briefly talking about the switch up with the podcast. Most of you know it was recently Mindful Living the podcast, and my business is Mindful Living, and I just felt like everything I owned was mindful living, and I really wanted to make my podcast a little bit more relaxed and a little less professional, if that makes sense. I don't mean it in like a, like I'm downing it in any way. Like I'm not speaking less of it, but I do think that I was taking it a bit too serious. Like, for example, I was constantly like thinking it had to be some like crazy revelation that I learned in school or some like therapy session type thing, and like just some super like educational, academically sound, podcasts and like topics. And that's not who I am in real life. That's not who I am in person. So I like to talk about topics like that. Like I'm passionate about a lot of different things, but at the same time, I'm trying to take things in a more mindful direction. So for example, changing the name. I felt like changing the name to Mindfully Minding My Business was kind of like a play on words, where it's like, I'm pretty much going to discuss a ton of topics about like things I should probably mind my business about. Excuse Bo in the background. He's trying to get comfy on the couch with me. So I'm trying to, basically, I'm going to be talking about topics that I should definitely be minding my own business about, but we're going to talk about them in a very mindful way. And the way I want to kind of discuss this is, it's basically a podcast about the hard truths of life. Like the things that no one really wants to talk about, the things that aren't going to really necessarily make you feel good, but they're true. Kind of like if you get in a fight with someone and you're constantly thinking like they're in the wrong and they just like hurt you so bad, but you fail to see how you might have played a part in the conflict as well. Stuff like that. So it's like things that don't necessarily make you feel good, but they definitely make you reflect inwardly and try to become a better individual by growing and maturing. So it's mostly stuff like that, if that makes sense. And it's also talking about those topics in a way that's not self-destructive. So not in a way that's like coming down on any of us, but just a way that's like, hey, let's reflect inwardly and try to be better people. Just talking about the truth, things that need to be said, but also we're going to mind our business and we're going to keep it ourselves. We're going to reflect inwardly, and it's going to be mindfully and gently discussed so that we don't lead to any type of self-destruction or anything like that. So I'm really excited. Those are the topics and the things that I am super passionate and love talking about and love discussing. So I decided to make a podcast about it. So I revamped everything. Of course, the episodes of the old title and the old stuff is still on here from Mindful Living, but I wanted to kind of revamp it and start fresh and start new on things that I'm super passionate about. And I wanted to talk about that for this podcast, but I also wanted to do an episode within the intro of the new podcast. So this is my new episode post revamp, and I'm also combining it with the first episode. And I'm really excited to talk about what I have today. I actually was going to just do an intro and upload that, but I was in the car driving this morning and I started thinking about different topics, and I really just got super passionate about the specific topic of something that I'm dealing with right now that I need to hear and that I need to work through. And I just felt like it would be beneficial to talk about it with everyone. I feel like everyone can benefit from this topic. So I'm going to get into it. And like I said, if you haven't already, grab your favorite beverage. Let's get cuddly. I'm on my couch. I'm comfortable. I'm chilling. It's about to storm outside. It's a rainy day. It's perfect for this podcast, and I could not be happier about it. So yeah, let's jump right in. What I want to talk about today is being diagnosed with something. Me specifically, what I'm going to be discussing today is being diagnosed with a mental illness disorder, or just mental illness in general, which I do want to make this a topic in and of itself, because a lot of people have the wrong idea of mental illness, and it definitely has a very strict stigma around it that I think does need to be broken. However, I do think that there's balance in this conversation. For example, the emotions and the feelings and the things that most people are diagnosed with, like anxiety and depression, I think a lot of people can relate to feeling that way. Now, it becoming a actual mental illness disorder, not everyone can relate to, but I do know that everyone can relate to those emotions on some sort of spectrum. And the truth is, our bodies were designed to feel those things. However, like feeling anxious and feeling depressed are actually very normal things. Like your body was designed to feel anxious, to feel depressed within the context and the confines of certain situations and circumstances that you might find yourself in, especially for fight or flight, and to really help you reflect inwardly on where you're at and what's going on. If you didn't feel anxiety, you probably wouldn't know that you're in danger, or you probably wouldn't have, red flags up or things like that. So it's definitely important to feel anxiety and to feel depression and to feel the things that you need to feel, because otherwise you wouldn't really know where you're at if you didn't feel them. So we're going to talk about them in a way that's a mental illness disorder, in a way that you're feeling these emotions when there's actually no real threat, or there's nothing around you that should be causing you to feel these ways. And that's what makes it a disorder, because it's not happening within a situation that would cause for an anxious moment or an anxious feeling. So I'm also going to be a little bit vulnerable, and as of most of you might see me looking down at my phone, I'm going to be looking at some of the notes I wrote down, and I gave them, I wrote them in a voice memo, as I was driving. I just kind of spoke it into my phone. So I'm not actually sure how well this is written, but I was trying to film this as quick as possible, and I totally forgot to organize my notes. So we're just going to wing it is what we're doing today. But that's the whole point of this podcast. I really want it to just be like we're sitting down having a conversation. We're just chilling. No one's, nothing's in the way of our day. We're just going to relax. We're going to talk about things that need to be addressed. There are the harsh truths of life, but we're going to talk about them in mindful ways. We're going to mind our business, and we're going to reflect inwardly about these things. So this has been happening for a while now. Those of you that have been following my journey know that I've been through, it's just been a really hard year and a half. I'm starting to see the upside of it, I think. However, I'm just working through a lot of different things that I've been going through for the past year. I'm really reconciling, my past and some decisions that I've made, and then also just some things that I was involved in, and I'm really just trying to figure out. I think that's what your 20s are about. So it's not like anything crazy happened to the point where I'm oh my gosh, I've got to figure out my entire life, but I'm just in my 20s, and this is kind of just what happens when you are going through a lot of life and you're just existing. And your 20s is really where you're finding friendships, you're seeing who sticks, who walks away, you're getting married. Some people are having babies, some people are staying single and traveling the world, some people are staying single and doing nothing or having roommates. So many different things are happening very, very rapidly all the time. And it's a wild time out here. So I've been navigating a lot of stuff. However, I did go through just a really, really, really rough year. And shout out to my husband, because I truly couldn't have gone through without him. He is such a beautiful soul. So yeah, shout out to my bae, to my boo thing. But that's not the point of this. That's just a little backstory. I'm not going to go into any details or anything like that, but I've been through some things, and I'm, I guess, recovering. And I went through extensive EMDR therapy in 2020 and 2021, and lots of things happened there. I got married, went on my honeymoon, yada yada, job changed up, so many things happened, and I'm back in therapy. Love that for me. Again, it's just life happening, so it's just the way things are sometimes, but I've developed this intense fear of going out into the public. Weirdest thing ever. I've had a very hard time getting out of bed. I've had a very hard time doing anything that is just a normal day thing. Making my coffee literally shoots dopamine through my veins. I'm not even kidding. My endorphins are flowing when I'm drinking coffee. There's just something about it. It keeps me awake. It's probably the caffeine. It's probably not actually dopamine. It's probably just, a little placebo effect going on there. But yeah, other than making coffee, it's been a real struggle. I stopped working out. I really started eating my feelings. I had a lot of weight gain. And these are things that I know are sensitive topics to a lot of different people, but this is a safe place that I want to speak freely about it. But yeah, I isolated myself so much, and I wasn't really there for a lot of people. A lot of people weren't really there for me. And it was just a very big, lonely deep, deep darkness that's happened. And truly, and of course, this is outside of the context of my husband and things like that. Like, my husband's just been absolutely amazing. He works a lot too. So it's like and I do my business full time. So I'm pretty much home, with my dog and just home. And I get out every once in a while, but it got to the point where I was only doing like Target pickup orders. I was like not going in the public. I was not really feeling comfortable being anywhere. I had this like intense fear that like I was just going to ruin people's lives if I went out into the public. And then it turned into, if I leave, I'm going to get hurt. Someone's going to hurt me. Like, I can control myself in this little home of mine, and I will, you think you can. I can control myself in my home. Like, I'm going to be okay. And if I step out into the real world, like, someone's going to hurt me. Something bad's going to happen to me. Like, and that's a whole issue in itself. There's a lot of religious trauma that I'm sorting out, going with like, what I'm called to do in life. What is a calling? And since I don't do what I used to do, I feel like my entire purpose has left. And so I just feel like, okay, now I'm going to die because I have no more purpose. And again, like I said, that's a whole other topic that I'm going to go into. It's like super deep and it goes into a lot of different things, but it's essentially just a big fat web of religious and spiritual trauma that I'm trying to dissect in my brain and organize and ultimately heal from. And all of this craziness has come down to me going back through therapy, like I said, and I've been going back to therapy maybe for 6 to 8 months now. I can't really remember. And I just recently have been diagnosed with depression. So I knew this entire time that I was feeling depressed. You know what? My next podcast is going to be about religious trauma and like all of that stuff, because this is extremely relatable to, I think, a lot of different people. But so I knew that I was dealing with depression. I felt depression before. I've never, ever, ever felt it like this before. I mean, this was like an uncontrollable, like, I just was paralyzed. I literally, and even now I'm still working through it, but it's like, I haven't seen the entire light at the end of the tunnel. I'm talking about this as I'm going through it. So hopefully you feel less alone and you feel a little bit heard, because it's not like I've seen the light and I'm out of it. But I've been going through such a difficult time, like just doing anything, like even cooking. And it's something like, as soon as my coffee and my caffeine leaves my body and I hit the afternoon, I just crash. Like, I feel sick. Anytime that I'm like, I go to bed and I cannot sleep. I wake up and I'm exhausted. I can't get out of bed. It's the weirdest thing. And I'm tired the entire day. Like, there's not a single moment in the day where I'm like, yeah, I feel great. My energy is subpar. Actually, what does subpar mean? I don't know. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. I don't have a lot of energy. I don't have a lot of motivation to really do anything. And I'm running my own business. And that in itself, to get myself motivated to do anything, like I said, it's just been terrible. So it came down to this diagnosis. And it's like, my options are to either ride it out. Who knows how long I'm going to be riding it out. Or to get on medication. And that is not what we're talking about today. Because I think that conversation could cause more could cause more harm than good, essentially. But yeah, so those are my two options that were kind of handed to me. And like I said, I was in this moment where I was over spiritualizing so many things. I felt like I couldn't say that I've been diagnosed with something. I felt like that wasn't allowed. I could only say that I'm dealing with something. I'm dealing with depression, or I can't say that I have depression or things like that. These are rules inside of my head that I've given myself. I can't say this. I can't talk about that. I have to say it a certain way. I have to be careful with how I say things. And what I realized is that I was actually putting myself in a deeper depression because I wasn't actually addressing the issue. And the issue is that I am depressed. And I kept thinking, my situation's depressing, and like, maybe it's just my situation that's causing this. I never actually gave myself permission to see and to say that I am depressed. Me, not my situation. And I only saw it that way. We just recently got a house. We moved in. My life, and this isn't me trying to be ungrateful, because my life on the outside looks perfect. I have the best husband, not to be biased, but I do. I have a home. I have a freaking cloud couch at 24 years old. Who do I think I am? Facebook Marketplace. But still, I have an espresso machine. I have all these plants. My home has the most beautiful natural light. And I just love everything. Like I have 2 cars. It's like I'm in the top 1% of the world. My life on the outside looks picture perfect, literally. But that's what made me realize that this depression is not situational. This depression isn't because of my circumstance. I am depressed. And if I didn't see it like that, I don't think I would fight the way that I'm fighting now. I would just keep letting myself sleep in. I would keep listening to my body, quote unquote, and keep resting and not fighting. And I would just kind of let the depression win every single day because I would think it's my circumstance, it's not me. But the truth of the matter is, the situation and circumstance I'm in is actually really beautiful. And I still am so depressed, can't get out of bed, hate waking up in the morning, insomnia at night, can't do mundane things. Like I'm literally dead after taking a shower. And just really deep depression. And if I kept blaming it on my situation, then number 1, I wouldn't be grateful for anything. But number 2, I wouldn't be able to address it the right way and fight the right way. So when I got diagnosed, I, of course, got a little discouraged. But in my head, I quickly switched and I was like, wait a minute. Now I know how to fight because I know that it's not my situation. It's not like this or that. It's me. I'm in the way of myself right now. Like I said, we're not going to go into the medication talk or anything like that. But what I did realize is that I'm not giving myself a fighting chance. I'm not giving myself the ability to overcome this and get through it because I just keep listening to my body. But my body's lying to me. And if I didn't get diagnosed with depression, I wouldn't have realized that my body's lying to me. I guess I wouldn't see it that way. And because I would still keep seeing it as a situation. It's a situation. It's, the circumstance that I'm in. It's this or that. When it's me, like I said. So I guess the diagnosis quickly turned into, now I know how to fight because now I see what I'm up against. I see that my body's lying to me. When I want to rest, when I want to sleep in, when I want to take it easy, my body's lying to me. And again, of course, there's time for rest. There's time for all these things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm strictly talking about what I'm going through right now and what's been helping me fight and what I feel like being diagnosed with something is. And if I can be quite frank, this is the whole point of the podcast, is to address things that might not make us feel good, but they're hard truths of life that I think we all should admit that they might be hard to admit. So being diagnosed with something basically puts you in a box. It's like, okay, this is what you're dealing with. This is the things that are going to confine you and define you. You're going to be confined within these 4 walls of this box. It's hard to get up. You're going to have insomnia, but you're also not going to be able to get out of bed in the morning. You're not going to be able to do mundane things. Everything is going to suck the life out of you. You're going to be drained constantly. You're probably going to eat your feelings or not eat at all. So many different things. You might have manic moments where you chop your hair off. You might shave your eyebrows. So many different things might happen. You might shop until you drop and then you have no money left. These are the things that the symptoms of depression, specifically, that I'm talking about, it's going to put you inside of a box. Now, what I feel like society does is they take that box and they say, hey, look, this is me. All these things, this is me. And now that I've been diagnosed, it gives me an excuse to, I have depression, so I get to sleep in. I have depression, so I need to reward myself and eat my feelings. I have depression, so, my manic moments cause me to shop, but it's because of my depression. And this is not me making fun. This is not me mocking. Again, these are just uncomfortable truths. I've seen this on social media. I've seen it in real life. I've had tendencies to do this and to use mental illness as my excuse, as to not going outside, as to only doing Target pickup orders, as to sleeping in and trying to listen to my body, but my body's lying to me. And I've had these same tendencies and I've seen it all around me. And that box of being diagnosed with something isn't supposed to be the end all be all. A diagnosis is actually supposed to help you define and have clarity for what you're up against so that you know how to fight it, how you know how to overcome it. And of course, this is not talking about medication. This is talking about other things or, whatever you decide to do. We're not going to get into that. But essentially, being diagnosed with something will actually bring clarity on how you can respond and live a better and more fulfilled life than the diagnosis itself. The diagnosis should not confirm your excuses. The diagnosis should not confirm your inability to get out of bed and make you feel good. The diagnosis should help you see what you're up against and help you know what to do to live a more fulfilled life, how to fight to be more fulfilled and more happy in your life. And I guess that's really just what I wanted to say today. If you've been diagnosed with something or you know someone that's been diagnosed with a mental illness disorder specifically of what I'm talking about, I think it's important to encourage that person to, fight a different fight instead of seeing it as a free card as, oh, this is why I do something, so it's going to become my excuse as to why I can shop until I drop, or it's going to be my excuse as to why I should chop all my hair off, which I did in January, and I regretted it, and I don't like my hair right now, and I've never felt uglier, but that's a separate topic. But yeah, I found myself doing all of those things. I'm not coming at anyone. I'm talking to myself. I'm preaching to the choir here. Myself, indeed. But yeah, so something that I started doing since I've been diagnosed is I was like, I can't miss my workout. So now that I know that this is what I'm up against, I know that my body in the morning is going to tell me you need to rest. And beforehand, I would have thought, okay, let me listen to my body. I need to rest. I need to not get up. I need to, I'm craving this. I deserve it because I'm going through a hard time. I would rationalize everything. And now it's different. There's a squirrel crawling on this fence outside, and I don't know how they crawl on such tiny spaces. Anyways, sorry. Literally got sidetracked by a squirrel. People are like, oh, squirrel. When they have like a squirrely moment. I literally got a squirrely moment from a squirrel, and I think that's really ironic. Anyways, like I said, now I know how to fight differently. And my fight does look different. I'm aware of what my body and my mind are going to tell me in the morning. I'm not going to feel like getting out of bed. I'm going to be exhausted. I'm going to feel probably dead inside. I'm probably going to feel sick. I wake up with a stuffy nose. My eyes are really swollen. My physical body feels sick. I've already been sick twice this year because of my mental health being trash. So my immune system went to crap with it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get up and I'm going to work out. My body's lying to me. My mind is lying to me right now. It's telling me to stay in bed. It's telling me to do nothing. It's telling me I can't do anything. It's telling me that I'm depressed. This is who I am, but I'm not going to let myself define that. I'm proving it to myself that this is not who I'm going to be defined as. Now I know how to fight because I know what depression is trying to define me as. So I get up in the morning and I work out. Even when I feel like I can't take one more breath, I feel like my lungs are giving out on me, I keep working out. And for example, this morning, I was supposed to work out at 9:30 and I felt so sick. It was terrible. And I've been working out consistently for 2 weeks now, which is seriously such a huge step for me. And I woke up this morning and I had felt worse than I had felt in a while. Like I really, really felt sick. Like I was like, wow, I can't even hold my eyes open. I feel so bad. So you know what I did? I slept in a little bit longer and I got up and I worked out at 10:30. And I still made sure I worked out. But this morning I felt a little bit extra tired. And I was like, okay, there's a time and place to listen to your body. There's a time and place to know when you can rest and when you can't. But because I'm giving myself a fighting chance, I know when to push through those moments and I know when to relax in those moments and just say, you know what, I'm going to sleep in a little bit. I'm going to work out later. And I make sure I get in my workout. I'm not drinking as much coffee because I know right now coffee is the only thing getting me through the day. And if I don't get a coffee, I'm kind of cranky. So I'm taking days where I don't drink coffee and I just have my water and my protein shake, and I don't drink anything with caffeine. Or I guess my protein shake actually does have caffeine in it. But there's days where I don't drink coffee because coffee low-key is filling a void. I was out with my friend plant shopping and I saw this plant. I wanted it so badly. I literally was having a hard time walking away from it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really believe right now this plant's going to change my life. And I know that it's not. I know that this plant is not going to change my life. So you know what I did? I decided to walk away from it and I didn't get a plant. And I truly feel totally fine not having that plant. I knew that I would, but in the moment it felt so hard to walk away from for whatever reason. But yeah, it's little things like that. I'm learning how to take back my life because I know what I'm up against. I know when my body's lying. It's not the situation that I'm in. It's not this, it's not that. I know what my body's going to tell me, and it's wrong because there's an imbalance here. When there's depression present in a situation that doesn't cause for depression, there's an imbalance going on, and there's a way to fight through it. There's tons of different ways. Like I said, there's medication. There's so many different ways. Everyone's going to fight differently. And this is how I'm choosing to fight. I'm giving myself a fighting chance outside of medication right now for this moment. And I'm trying to see if I can work through it myself. I'm trying to see if I can write it out and work through this and give myself a chance to rewrite this depression. Now, of course, down the line, we're going to work through some things. I'm going to talk with my therapist. I'm going to keep looking back and balancing out the scales because neither side of the spectrum is good. And life really calls for balance. That thunder was beautiful. Well, I think it's about to storm, and I'm so ready to edit this podcast and listen to the storm. But that's really all I wanted to talk about today. The truth is, of course, a diagnosis can cause us to respond in so many different ways. There's a lot of different treatments that you can do and all of that stuff. But my whole point is, whatever you've been diagnosed with, if you've ever been diagnosed or know anyone that's been diagnosed with something, that's not supposed to define you or give you a card or give you a way out. It's probably going to help you better understand yourself. And it's probably going to help you better understand, the way in which you've responded and things like that. And sometimes maybe you're responding the exact correct way, and that's just your diagnosis. There's so many different things here that we can go into, but this is me talking from my personal experience of what I'm experiencing right now, and wanted to share it just in hopes that you can feel less alone and you feel heard and seen. But yeah, that's really all I have today. If you've been diagnosed with something, like I was saying, sorry, I just got off track, and you feel like it's giving you a reason to make excuses or further stay in this season because you can't help it. There are some things that we can't help, but there are some things we can do to live a more fulfilled life. And if I didn't understand that this is what I was up against, I would probably just keep letting it happen to me as if it wasn't me, But now that I see that it's me, now that I see it's something that I'm facing, that I'm going through, that I am, it's helping me see how I can live a fulfilled life against the flow and the current, and just going against the current of what I'm dealing with so that I can live a more fulfilled life. And there's certain things I can do, like waking up in the morning, making sure that I get up. When I have insomnia before bed, or if I'm in bed and I can't sleep, I just watch The Office, and I just kind of, make the best of it, even though I might be tired, or I'll have my husband rub my back or scratch my back. And there's just different things that I can kind of like self-soothe to go to sleep and, try and just relax instead of getting mad at it or whatever. But yeah, I hope this helps you feel seen and heard. Like I said, of course, this podcast is probably going to, be some strong opinions, but we're all going about them mindfully. And yeah, we're going to mind our business in a very mindful way. So like I said, I hope this makes you feel seen, heard, loved, all the different things. And I also hope that it helps you reflect inwardly, and you might not feel so good. But it's not feeling very good what I'm going through and having to get up every morning and knowing that, it's depression. It doesn't necessarily feel good, but it feels a lot better than letting depression win every single day. That's for sure. It's definitely worth it. If you want to get further connected, you can check out the links below. I have a link tree. There's, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all different types of things you can get involved in with social media on top of Patreon. Shout out to my patrons. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you for just your continual monthly support and partnership. You seriously are changing the world one life at a time. If you want to join my partnership team and become a member of Mindful Living, go ahead, click the link that says become a patron. And yeah, like I said, if you want to check out the website, get some goodies. I have a summer sale coming on right now, and all the summer drop, the dad hats and the tote bags are also on sale right now. Check out some goodies. Have a fun time over there. Either way, I hope you get involved with this family and this community a little bit more. And that's all I have for you all. I always have the hardest time ending these podcast episodes. I have no idea why. But you're sick in a cool way, not in a sick disease way. Not in a diagnosis way. I am going to have a guest speaker on next week's podcast. So if you're looking forward to that, we are talking about friendships in your 20s. And wow, is that not a huge topic to discuss? So I hope you'll join us for that next week. Something to look forward to. And I hope that you're loving the changes that I'm coming up with. I am super comfortable on my couch right now. And this is definitely the direction I want to go in with my podcast. But yeah, it's going to be a fun time over here. Like I said, get involved. I cannot wrap it up to save my life, but that is all I have for you all. I hope you have a beautiful day, evening, night, morning, week, whatever time you're listening to this. And just know that you're such a beautiful human and your life is worth living. I'll see you all in the next one.